So everyone is talking about high ticket sales and remote sales jobs, and you clicked on this video because you're either in the space yourself or you're considering getting into it. But you think that shit might have sailed, it's becoming too competitive and it's too late to enter into the industry and make a lot of money in it. Well, I'm here to tell you that is not true. And by having that belief, you are simply delaying your own success and giving yourself an excuse that is totally out of your control for not getting the results that you want. And that might have upset you, but it's true, and I don't want you to click off this video without hearing exactly my point here. And because I know you just aren't going to take my word for it, in the next 10 minutes or so, I'm going to explain and show you why it isn't oversaturated. Sales can never be oversaturated. It is fundamental in all businesses. It's probably the longest and oldest industry to ever exist. Before even money existed, people were selling and trading with each other and bargaining and striking deals and negotiating. It's fundamental for a business to be successful. That business owner needs to know how to sell, or they need to hire a team. And by simply having the skill of sales and truly being good at it, you will never make less than six-figure income again. Providing you know how to actually use it and you can position yourself well. Even if a specific sub-market becomes oversaturated, or that might start to die, whether that be in the case of let's say stockbrokers in the 1980s in Wall Street. There was such an influx of people before the crash of people wanting to be stockbrokers. Stockbrokers are essentially salesmen. And the same can be said about the double glazing industry too. When double glazing became a thing and people realized they could save a lot of money by installing these windows, double windows, there was a lot of double glazing salesmen. But now that industry is no longer a thing. These sales jobs now are way less popular, but that doesn't mean those individuals that were thriving within that market, that doesn't mean that now they're starving and they're without a job and they're without making incomes. The ones that could sell really, really well just pivoted into another industry, and they followed the trend of where that money flows. And by simply having that skill, you should never look at it as like, I'm going to enter an oversaturated market, because that is simply not true. You're having a skill and it's just knowing where to pivot. And another example of this is Warren Buffett's famous quote, "It doesn't matter how hard you row, it matters what boat you're in." Now, in today's day and age, if you were a salesman trying to sell print advertisement, like in newspapers or magazines, you're probably not going to make that much money because that industry is declining. It's not doing as well now. The salesmen that are selling advertising are in the digital world. They're selling digital advertisements, and they're the ones making the big bucks. That salesman that sells advertisement in newspapers could be unbelievable. He could be the best salesman in the world, but he's never going to make any money if he stays within that industry. But by knowing how to sell, he can take that skill and he can apply it in any industry he wants. And really, he should be selling digital advertisement. Which leads really nicely onto my next point here, which is, in the case of remote sales, you're actually still very early here. And that is because the digital world as a whole is growing, and it's growing at a rapid rate. The biggest companies within the stock market, they're tech companies, they're online companies. More and more companies are moving to remote work anyway. They want to get leaner, they want to make more profit, and frankly, they're just more efficient. And if we take just one of these examples, one sub-market, obviously the digital space is massive. You've got online advertisement companies. As we said, there are many digital marketing companies out there making a killing that you can go and sell for. Content as a whole is only on the up. You look at some of the biggest companies in the world, the Facebooks, the Instagrams, the TikToks, the YouTubes, all of those are on the up and getting bigger and bigger. There are massive amounts of content marketing agencies, and access to information as a whole is just easier. It's so easy for me to go and say my business does 10 million a year, I want to get it to 100 million a year. It's so easy to research and connect and intertwine with people on platforms like LinkedIn or any other social media, in fact, and for people to actually sell their services online. To find a mentor or a business consultant 30 years ago, you'd have to have met them at some networking event. They'd have to be in the same city as you, whereas now people are accessible from across the globe. Inside Club Closer, for example, we've got people from all around the world. And I've worked with business mentors that have been in America, that have been in Bali, Indonesia, that have been in Europe. It's so international, and by having this digital space, everybody is able to connect with each other, and ultimately everybody's able to sell each other their different services. It's only going to get easier. It's a growing industry, is basically what I'm trying to say, and it's one that you really want to be a part of. And if we were just to take, again, one example of one industry that is probably the biggest for high-ticket closers to sell in right now, it's online education. And according to Yahoo Finance, it's predicted to balloon into a $475 billion market by 2030, which is a 4x growth rate over the next 5 years alone. That just shows, if a business is, if an industry, a sub-industry is growing 4 times in size over the next 5 years, that just goes to show that there's going to be more and more sales jobs. There's going to be more and more companies entering the space. What do those companies need? Well, those companies need sales reps. And, you know, of course, like, I'm not going to lie and say that those roles might not be more competitive, because of course, more and more people are entering the space, you know, whether that be businesses and individuals looking for roles. But at the minute, it's very obvious that industry is growing, and the demand for online products and services will only continue to increase in the coming years. I frankly can't see it slowing down much at all within the next at least 10 years. And, you know, if it does, then you've got a valuable skill of sales that's going to apply in any economy ever. Like, the last people to get fired are going to be your sales guys. So by learning the skill of sales, let's say the online education industry disappears overnight. Does that mean that you, as a high ticket closer with the ability to sell really, really well, are going to be without a job? No, you're just going to pivot into a different opportunity. You might go sell for a content agency. You might go and sell for an AI infrastructure agency. Or, you know, if those industries don't exist, well, there's going to be new ones that crop up with the evolution and change. Like, if you think about it, these high ticket sales jobs, they didn't really, or these remote high ticket sales jobs, they didn't really exist 10 years ago. And 10 years down the line, I personally can't say exactly how that market is going to look, but all I know is that there is going to be a demand for sales reps, and sales reps will always be paid handsomely for the work they do, because they have the biggest impact on how well a business does. On the flip side of that, there's going to be more and more people entering this space, seeing that, you know, this is the next shiny object. This is the next sort of Facebook ads in 2010. Like, that was a blowing up industry. That was where it was so easy to make money. And now they think, oh yeah, I'll just get a remote sales jobs and I'll be able to print. Well, they're just not qualified for those roles, and frankly, they shouldn't be applying. I guess what I'm trying to say here is that good companies are going to be looking for good talent. And if you're not good, you probably won't get a good sales job, or any job for that matter. You know, you're going to be applying for roles, and this is what has happened, and this is what I see time and time again, is people are seeing high ticket sales as the next shiny object, the next kind of make money online method they want to try, and they're going ahead and applying for all these high ticket sales roles, and they're not hearing back from any of the companies they're applying to, or the ones they are hearing back are just not good companies that are giving them no calls. And then they go and blame the industry and say that, you know, the market's oversaturated, there's no good companies out there, I can't get a job. You know, this leads really perfectly onto my final point, which is you're probably the problem. And so oftentimes when people tell me, you know, it's oversaturated, they can't find a good offer, they can't get hired, I'll just simply quiz them on how much they've tried. And the harsh reality is 99 times out of 100, it's them that the issue and not the market. They're the ones that haven't put time into crafting their skill. They haven't put time into learning sales. They haven't put time into perfecting their outreach or their people skills or their objection handling, whatever it may be. They're simply just not good enough at sales to land the roles that they want to learn. If you think about it like this, like Cristiano Ronaldo, one of the best football players in the world, do you really think he is worried about his position in whatever football team he's playing in at the time because every kid wants to become a professional football player? Could you not argue that being a professional football player is oversaturated and it's impossible to become one? The point being, Cristiano Ronaldo isn't worried or concerned or complaining that the market's oversaturated. He's simply focusing on being the best and getting the best at what he does. So he doesn't have to worry about that because he's always going to have a position, because he always knows he's going to be in the top, 2%, 1% of football players. And this is exactly what you need to do too, because of course a good company is going to have a lot of job applications. I know some companies in the space that get 300 plus job applications for every single role they put out. So there's actually never a guarantee you're going to land a role. But if you simply focus on getting better and being the best at sales as possible, you're going to give yourself the best chance possible. And of course, I'm not here to tell you that's going to happen overnight. But if you continue to focus on the craft, get good at sales, and just focus on being better instead of blaming all these external factors of an oversaturated market, there's no good companies out there anymore, or whatever it may be, you're leaning on as a crutch to kind of make yourself feel better about the reasons you're not getting the results that you want, and you simply focused on that and being the best and your own ability and the variables you can control, to be honest, no market in sales will ever become saturated for you. And this is really the same approach you should be taking, because of course, a good company that is hiring a high ticket closer is going to get a lot of job applications. So there is never a guarantee that you're going to land a role. But if you simply focus on being the best at sales you possibly can be, you focus all your attention and all your time on becoming better and simply just being the best salesperson that there ever was and consistently improving that skill, you're going to give yourself the best chance of landing these roles. And if you did that for a prolonged period of time and you only focused on that, then you're almost guaranteeing your success that way by simply focusing on the skill set itself instead of these external factors that you can't control. Because if you do focus on those, you're going to use them as a crutch for the reasons you're not getting the results that you want. But if you simply focused on your own inputs, on what you can control, no market will ever become saturated for you.